the gems who will help you win $50,000 on Underdog this weekend. That's what we have in store for you today. 5 sleepers, 1 at each position, and a bonus, as well as 3 strategic angles for drafts and a pick'em to tail. Last week, our Baker, Dobbins, and Najee picks all worked out very well, so let's keep this heater going. I'm Pete Overzet, this is the Deposit Kingdom, and here's who we are rolling with in Week 7. As always, we start with our quarterback, and this week we got Vikings quarterback Sam Darnold versus Detroit. He has an ADP of 35.5, which makes him QB 12, and he has a salary of $6,200 on DraftKings. This Vikings-Lions game is going to be what people wanted the Cowboys-Lions game to be last week. And the upside for Darnold, I think, is masked a little bit by his recent box score. He's only averaging 17.1 fantasy points per game, but the Vikings have rarely been pushed this year. In fact, the Vikings have led by 9+ points, a league-leading 55% of their plays, thanks to Fantasy Life's Dwayne McFarland for that nugget. But now they're at home. They're off the bye in a game with a tight spread where they are projected for the 3rd most points on the slate. I love scrolling down for Darnold this week. It feels like a very similar setup to the Baker and Burrow plays that worked out so well in previous weeks. And as far as how to execute Darnold in drafts, I think there's a few different ways to play him. Right now, he's projecting for less than 20% ownership, and I would wager that nearly 100% of those Darnold teams feature Justin Jefferson, who's going 101 and 102 in most of these drafts. I think this could still work in a very similar way as the Godwin-Baker stuff worked last week, but I also think rolling some alternative Viking stacks would be smart, and later in the video, I'll share a few specific ideas for how to stack Darnold more creatively. Next up, we got our running back, and we are going with Bengals running back Chase Brown. They are at Cleveland this week. He has an ADP of 35.8, which makes him the running back 19 on Underdog, and he has a nice salary on DraftKings as well at $5,900. And look, maybe this pick is a bit of a heat check. Maybe it's a bit of fancy play syndrome in the 6-person contest. But right now, Brown is projecting for sub 1% ownership right now. No one is clicking him. And I get the vibe that no one wants anything to do with this Bengals-Browns game. But Brown stands out to me as a gem here. First of all, the matchup is better than people think. The Browns have been solid against the pass. They're 10th overall, but they haven't been as strong against the run. They're 20th there, and they're allowing 138 yards per contest on the ground. But to me, the real selling point is Chase Brown's role, continuing to grow week after week. He posted a 53% rush share and reached season highs in route participation, 54%, and target share, 14% in week 6. He's also lapping Zach Moss in a bunch of efficiency metrics, so I want to be a week ahead if there is a full-blown flippening between these two. And how to execute Chase Brown, like most of our running back gems, the best way to use these guys is as a one-off scroll at the end of your drafts, though I do have one other unique angle for Brown that I'll float when we hop in drafts in a second. All right, let's get to our wide receiver gem. We are going with Lions wide receiver Jameson Williams at Minnesota. He has an ADP of 35.6. He's the wide receiver 20 on Underdog, and he has a salary of $6,000 on DraftKings. So last week, Amon-Ra St. Brown had only 4 targets. Laporta had 1. Jameson only had 4. The Lions have been so dominant on the ground that they haven't really been forced to the air in a major way recently. And because I think the Vikings can hang, you can clearly tell I like this game, I love Jameson Williams in this game environment. Right now, he's projecting for sub 5% ownership, while Amon-Ra, both of the running backs, and Laporta are all getting drafted in the majority of contests. Jameson Williams is always going to be boom bust, but when we're playing these Battle Royale contests, we only care about the high-end outcomes. But when he does hit, not only does Jameson Williams speed up the game with big plays, that could mean more big plays for the Vikings as well, but it also increases the chances that Amon-Ra St. Brown isn't an optimal first-round selection. A lot of Jameson's spike weeks have come at the expense of Amon-Ra earning more targets. So how do you want to execute this? I think there's a lot of different ways you can play it with Jameson Williams. A one-off is fine. With Goff is solid either as a skinny stack or a double stack. I think you can use him as a bring back to Viking stuff. You know, I don't want to always force bring running backs, but I think if you are playing for this game environment to be the game of the week, it makes sense to get in an explosive player on both sides of the ball. Basically, I just want to be mixing and matching how I use a guy like Jameson Williams if this game hits. All right, let's go to tight end. We got Dalton Schultz. He is at Green Bay this week. He has an ADP of 35.6, makes him the tight end 9 on Underdog. He has a $4,200 salary on DraftKings. And I know we've done Schultz before. He's once again projecting for sub 10% ownership despite a pretty good setup this week. But I know why you're groaning, right? He's yet to finish higher than tight end 18 in any week this year, which again, I realize makes this a hard sell, but let me try. He's now coming off back-to-back games with 7 or more targets, and he was second on the Texans last week with a 28% target share, and now he gets a Packers team who has allowed the second most points per game to the tight end position. So the role, the matchup, the ADP, it's all lining up to make Schultz a really good one-off tight end. If you don't get one of the big 3 this week, you know, I would prefer to have Kelsey, to have Bowers, to have Kittle on my teams, but you can also stack Schultz up with Stroud and Dell as well. I think there's kind of a few different angles you can take with Schultz this week. Let's get to our bonus, and it is not going to surprise you. It is once again taking place in this Vikings and Lions game. It is Vikings running back Aaron Jones. Of course, they play Detroit. He has an ADP of 35.4 right now. He is the RB16, and he has a pretty pricey tag on DraftKings at $6,500. And here's the deal. This one has the chance to go to 0 real quick if Aaron Jones doesn't play, but the Battle Royale game doesn't punish us if he doesn't, because we just get to swap with the Q tag to another player. And he was at practice on Thursday, so things are trending in the right direction for Aaron Jones. And I will just say, if you're confused by this and you're new to Battle Royale games, and unfamiliar with how these Q tags and these swaps work, check out our previous video. I'll link to it in the description, and I'll also post the link right here, or maybe it'll be right here, but it will tell you all about how these swaps work and why we want to lean into this uncertainty with the Q tags, because it gives us the potential to build these super teams when they do play, and we got them with our last pick in these drafts. So because of all of that, he has a sub 10% ownership right now. I would expect that to continue to rise a little bit if we continue to get positive indicators from him from practice. And again, the Lions have been solid against the run, but this is a game environment play and a leverage angle with Aaron Jones, who can get there in really any matchup when he's getting his full workload. So how to execute Jones, very similar to Chase Brown. I think it can be a one-off play, or you can include him with other Vikings pieces. You know, I definitely want to have a subset of lineups that play this game as just a crazy shootout, in which case I think you will be happy to pair Jones with other pieces in this game. As always, I like to build a pick'em entry with all of our gems. Last week we were close. A couple of them just fell short. Pat Freiermuth didn't clear his receiving yards, and Rashid Shaheed scored a touchdown, but it wasn't a rushing or receiving touchdown. It was on a kick return. So that 5-legger was close, but no cigar. Let's see if we can get back on the right track this week. We're going to start with Sam Darnold, of course. We are going higher here on the yards. This line has been going up here, but we can get it at, I believe it's 262 right now. When I initially wrote this video, it was at 249.5. So all of these are going up right now. So keep an eye on these lines. Obviously, you want to get the best number possible. We're next going to go with Chase Brown, higher than 54.5 rushing yards. Then we have Jameson Williams. We're going higher than 51.5 rushing yards. Then we got Dalton Schultz, higher than 3.5 receptions. And then the last one we're going to toss in Jordan Addison here. You know, I'm not doing the Aaron Jones one yet. I didn't see anything in the lobby when I recorded this. So we're going to use Jordan Addison, who obviously correlates with Darnold. We're going to do higher than 51.5 receiving yards for Jordan Addison. I will post this link down in the description of the video and in the comments. So if you want to tail it, you just click the link. It'll pull it up in your Underdog app, and you can put in the exact same pick'em or champions entry as me. And I'll also say, like, if you're just looking for ideas of how to spin this off, I don't mind switching either the Jameson Williams or the Jordan Addison yards to them scoring touchdowns. Obviously, that'll be a bigger payout. And the thought being, when these guys do hit, when they have a big play, a touchdown becomes a lot higher likelihood. And obviously, you get a much bigger multiplier on a TD than just the yardage. So feel free to mix and match with these ideas, and you can always kind of correlate them with the quarterback quarterback as well, like if you wanted to use the Jared Goff with Jameson Williams, for instance. Always too, make sure you take advantage of a boost if you have it in the lobby. I had a 31% boost as part of their October Boostober promotions. You can add this to an entry and get an even bigger payout if all the picks hit. And if you're new to Underdog, they of course are offering up to a $1,000 deposit match when you use promo code Pete. And they'll also give you a free pick'em special, an additional pick'em special available just to you for signing up. So take advantage of that if you haven't signed up and joined us on Underdog before. Every week we do a little Evergreen strategy here. I've been making the timestamps in the previous videos. So if you ever want to jump to just the Evergreen portion because the slate specific stuff is old, I will continue to do that. And today I want to talk about something interesting that popped up in week 6, because one of the combos you saw at the top of the leaderboard the most last week was Derrick Henry paired with Bijan Robinson. The guy who won first place in the Battle Royale, Goat Napped, who took down first place for $50,000, had that pairing. I had a team that finished in 19th place for $2,000. It also had that pairing. And I think there's a macro strategy piece to discuss here, and that's to prioritize ADP fallers at the top of the draft board. So in this specific example, Derrick Henry had an ADP of 3 last week, while Bijan had an ADP of 7. That means most of the time, if you drafted Henry at 3, Bijan's not coming back to you when you pick at 10, right? So when you are getting it, it means that Bijan slid a couple picks to either 9 or 10. Maybe you got Henry at 4, so he only had to slide to 9, but you get my point. It made Henry and Bijan tougher to get in most rooms, and we can actually go and check the data to see if this actually was true. And thanks to Patrick Donovan's terrific site, bbmdb.com, where they now have Battle Royale data, we can see there only ended up being 592 instances of Derrick Henry and Bijan teams. And then we can compare that with a number of teams paired with Henry that more lined up at ADP. So let's use Jaden Reed as an example. Reed had an ADP that lined up way more frequently with the Derrick Henry in the 3-slot drafter, and that resulted in almost 1,500, or not almost, exactly 1,570 pairings of Henry and Reed. So that's almost 3 times as many Reed and Henry pairings as Henry and Bijan pairings. So there's basically 2 main levers we can pull in Battle Royale to build unique teams. One of them is the entire premise of this video series, the gems. It's the scrolling down at the end of drafts to select players who are rarely getting drafted. But the other lever we can pull is with unique combos, specifically at the top of the draft, where we're able to pair 2 of the top players in the pool who aren't often paired together on the same team. So if you want an easy way to think about this, it's in the first 2 rounds of drafts, you want to care about ADP. You want to be a value hound if a unique combo presents itself. Whereas at the end of drafts, we don't care about ADP. You can fully ignore it. You scroll down for a unique piece that isn't often getting drafted. This, of course, ended up being the exact recipe you needed to win in week 6, Bijan Henry in a Baker Mayfield scroll. And while it won't always break exactly like that, I think it's valuable to understand how these 2 uniqueness levers resulted in a $50,000 win in week 6. All right, before we hop in some drafts and I share a few other strategic ideas to attack in these week 7 drafts, we got to shout out the winner of the Deposit Kingdom Weekly League from week 6, LavaLord. So LavaLord rolled out a naked Jaden Daniels with Derrick Henry on the other side of that game. He had a Bijan Robinson and Deontay Johnson mini correlation from that Carolina-Atlanta game. And then he had Chris Godwin, of course, the guy you needed, and then Trey McBride at tight end. And as we just said, that Henry-Bijan combo ended up being one of the best 1-2 running back combos on the week. But what's funny about this team here from LavaLord is he could have won it with a bunch of other ways, right? Like if he has McLaurin over Deontay, this team still wins. If he goes Baker Mayfield to stack with Godwin instead of Jaden Daniels, this team still wins. But that's the beauty of these smaller contests. You don't need to be perfect. And if you guys want to have a shot to win first place, to have your team reviewed here on the channel, guess what? The Deposit Kingdom Weekly League goes live on Underdog Fantasy every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. So hop in there, scroll over on the carousel until you see the $10 3 max titled Deposit Kingdom Weekly League. And I'll recap the results not only here, but also on the Portfolio Review Show. That's a show I do every Monday at 10 a.m. on my live stream channel. You can search for that at Peter Overzet on YouTube. And we'll always be reviewing and see who's climbing to the top of the Deposit Kingdom leaderboards. All right. That's enough for the gems. Let's hop into some drafts and discuss 3 strategic angles for week 7. Okay, we are going to hop in a Battle Royale draft. Like I said, we got another $50,000 top prize this week. And our first idea we are going to do, we kind of alluded to it when we were talking about Sam Darnold, and that is the sneaky Sam stack. So the obvious Sam stack is you take Justin Jefferson and you pair him with Sam Darnold. A lot of people are going to do that this week. By a lot, I mean the 20% of people who are selecting Sam Darnold in drafts. They will almost always be doing that with Justin Jefferson. So we're going to get sneaky here and do it with Jordan Addison. So our final 2 picks in this draft are going to be Sam Darnold and Jordan Addison. And it is funny, as we hop into this draft, we have the 102. So normally Justin Jefferson goes 101, although sometimes I see someone take Kyren Williams ahead of time. Maybe we will switch our idea to something else so we can take advantage of scooping Justin Jefferson at 1-2, but we will cross that bridge when it comes. But for now, we are going to put Jordan Addison and Sam Darnold in our queue, and then we will build out a team from there. Let's see what the 101 does. This would be a good sweat. It's so weird doing content and then you're like, oh, I hope Justin Jefferson does go 101. So yes, we will take Kyren Williams here at 102. And now we can kind of talk through how the rest of this team will shake out, knowing we have 2 good scroll candidates here, right? I can see, thanks to the ownership percentages via the Draft Caddy overlay, Sam Darnold is down here at 13.6%, which is actually even lower than when I grabbed it earlier when I was recording the first part of this video. I think it was at 19% then, so it's even come down a little bit. And then Jordan Addison at 18.6%. So I love the idea of getting a super high upside stack at really combined low ownership here. And you guys hear me talk about the ownership percentages a good bit. I'm getting these from the Draft Caddy. This is an overlay. It works for both Chrome and Safari. And I also have some other data in here. Like I can see the spread. You know, the Vikings are 1.5 point favorites. It has a 50.5 total, etc. So we do know on this team with these last 2 scrolls, our quarterback's good. Our wide receiver 2 is good. That's going to give us some flexibility if we want to go with 3 wide receivers or 2 running backs, or what we want to do at tight end as well. So there are some good picks here. Malik Neighbors falling, Drake London falling. Let's go ahead. Neighbors is back at practice. Let's do Drake London here. I do like Drake London a lot. I think both him and Malik Neighbors are very strong selections. I'll have a good amount of both this week. But on this one, we will take Drake London. And then I'm going to grab my tight end with one of these next picks. I know on this one, I'm not going to be scrolling for a tight end because my scrolls are going to be Jordan Addison and Sam Darnold. So let's go ahead and grab Brock Bowers here. I do love the setup for all 3 of these guys. But because we have Kyren here, maybe we play this game as a little bit of a shootout. Kyren and Brock Bowers alternating blows. And now we just have one more non-Jordan Addison or Sam Darnold pick. And that obviously can be a running back or a wide receiver because we can roll out 2 running backs or 3 wide receivers depending on what falls to us. So we'll see what comes back at this 4-5 turn. And I guess the only thing to watch is what this drafter does here. So they have Justin Jefferson, so they're certainly a candidate to potentially take Sam Darnold. I might just take Sam Darnold at 23, so I don't have to deal with it. Once we get to this portion of the draft board, the opportunity cost of what you're giving up doesn't end up being huge, and I do not want to have my Jordan Addison stack blown up. So I think that's what we're going to do. You know, in this drafter, you can look at their options if they want to stack. You know, Daniel Jones, most people are not going to draft him this week. Geno is definitely in the stack conversation. So I could see that a little bit. Maybe they go Geno, but again, I'm just not going to mess with it. I think we can definitely push Jordan Addison to our last pick. We'll take him at 35. And then it looks, I mean, there are so many good picks this week in BR. Debo, Jaden Reed, Deontay Johnson, Cooper Kupp, and Tony Pollard all in this range look good to me. But we're going to lock up Sam Darnold first, and then we'll grab one of these other guys here, and then we'll round things out with Jordan Addison. Deontay Johnson did pop up on the injury report. I'm recording this Friday late afternoon. But actually, this works out perfect because this drafter has already taken all 3 of their running backs behind me. So I know, or wide receivers. So I know they can't take Debo, Jane Reed, or Deontay. So we'll just take Darnold first, and then we'll pick our wide receiver. He's going to probably think I'm trolling him right now. He's like, who is this asshole taking Sam Darnold at pick 23? Or maybe he's not maybe he's not tilted. He could be in his own world. All right, let's see what I want to do here. I don't think there's any like correlation angles. Man, all of these are really good picks. Debo, Reed, Deontay. Let's just go Debo. I know he's dealing with this wrist injury, but I think once he gets cleared fully, he's going to move up a bit. So we'll grab Debo Samuel at pick 26. And then we're going to push the plane here. I don't think anyone is taking Jordan Addison from us here. And we can hop in another draft because you guys get the gist. You get the idea. We'll circle back and confirm that I got Jordan Addison. You guys can laugh at me if I didn't. But let's hop in a draft and do our second idea here. Let me head over to the NFL tab is glitching on me. So we will scroll. That's what we do around here. We scroll. And this second idea, I'm calling it Bengals Go Brrr. So we already talked about Chase Brown. He's going completely overlooked here on this slate, ADP of 35.8. But T. Higgins isn't getting drafted a ton either. You see Jamar Chase has 100% field exposure, obviously getting selected in every draft. But T. Higgins is not. Down here, ADP of 33.2, getting drafted in less than 25% of drafts. I really like these running back and wide receiver pairings on Underdog, specifically when they're not getting drafted a ton. I just think it's an easy way to lean into correlation. You only have to get one thing right. You know, the Bengals offense rolls here, and it shouldn't shock anyone if Chase Brown and T. Higgins end up being, you know, 2 of the bigger beneficiaries of this. And lo and behold, look, we get the 101 here. So we can get Justin Jefferson on this team. And then we know our final 2 picks will be T. Higgins and Chase Brown. So as we wait for this, let's go see. We can go check in on our other draft here. Let's see. Did we get our guy Jordan Addison? We did get Jordan Addison. So here's the final squad: Sam Darnold, Kyren Williams, Drake London, Debo Samuel, Jordan Addison, and Brock Bowers on that Darnold Addison team. So there's our sneaky Sam stack. And now we will head over here and start our Bengals Go Brrr stack. You know, one of the other things, that makes me like the T. Higgins stuff is the utilization for T. Higgins has been really good now that he's back, you know, completely healthy in the offense. I'm going to pull up here. I'm on my other monitor looking at the performance for T. Higgins of late, and I will select Justin Jefferson here and let me go pull this up. So Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins has just really come on since he returned. You know, he missed weeks 1 and 2. So week 3, 6 targets, week 4, 9 targets, week 5, 13 targets, and then last week, 7 targets. Actually out-targeted. He is out-targeted. This is crazy. He has out-targeted Jamar Chase in all 3 of the last games: 7-6, 13-12, and then 9-7. So yeah, when you look at his targets per route run, it's 26% to Chase's 19. His targets are 28% on the season to Chase's 22%. So I'm not saying T. Higgins is better than Jamar Chase. I do not believe that, but I think it's something you can exploit when Jamar Chase is getting selected in every draft, and a guy who continues to earn a ton of targets, who can easily blow up on his own without Jamar Chase succeeding, is going virtually undrafted, you know, sub 20% here, according to these ownership projections. So I like this angle a lot. Another angle here that I kind of like is because I'm not going to use Joe Burrow on this team. You know, I'm playing this as Chase Brown gets a decent amount of rushing work, and that's where some of his points come from. I'm going to do a Jaden Daniels team here. Jaden Daniels slides a little bit in ADP. He's a guy that I think is going to be used a ton with Terry McLaurin in drafts this year or this week. I'm going to do him naked in this contest, and I will go ahead and also grab Bijan Robinson, who slides here. And this is what we were just talking about at the top of drafts, trying to capture some of these ADP fallers because they won't be paired together a lot. So even though there's, no particular reason I love Jaden Daniels or Bijan Robinson, together, they're very interesting to me because Bijan has an ADP of 9, falls to 13. Jaden has an ADP of 8, falls to 12. So I don't think you will see a lot of Jaden Daniels and Bijan Robinson teams. And that immediately makes it interesting to me. So we're now in a spot here where the 3 main tight ends go. We basically know our last 2 picks are going to be T. Higgins and Chase Brown. That means we need to find a tight end here. So we could do Zach Ertz with Jaden Daniels. I think I'll probably get our scroll here. We mentioned Dalton Schultz. If you miss out on one of those other top guys, I think Dalton Schultz will be our scroll down here. And so with these 2 picks, we'll go T and Dalton Schultz, and then we'll wrap it up with Chase Brown. I guess I'll just take Chase Brown because if I get cute and someone takes Chase Brown from me, then I will tilt. So let's just lock these 2 up. I don't really think anyone is taking Dalton Schultz from me. I also don't mind the Brian Robinson pairing with Jaden. I'm obviously not doing that because I'm saving my running back slot for Chase Brown, who I'm going to select here. But I kind of like that Jaden Daniels, Brian Robinson versus Carolina, just saying between those 2, if they drop 35, 40 points, they are going to be responsible for all of it together, Jaden and Brian Robinson. So I kind of like that angle. But here we are going to grab Chase Brown and T. Higgins, our 2 Bengals go Brrr candidates. And then we'll grab Dalton Schultz with our final pick here. I am going to push the plane again. Let's see, who should we put? We'll put Zach Ertz as our backup plan. If we don't get Schultz, we will do Ertz stacked with Jaden Daniels. And I think you could argue that Ertz is a better pick from a correlation angle for this team. But I also like the idea of having naked Jaden Daniels, especially when he is going to be paired so frequently with his pass catchers. All right, let's do our final draft here. And this idea, let me get over to the Battle Royale. Where did you go? Here we go. This one we are calling the double Q tag scroll. So we already mentioned Aaron Jones has this Q tag here, ADP of 35.2. Look at all these influencer early slots. Where do we go? We went 102, 101, 102. Not too bad. So Aaron Jones, we already talked about in this video. We're also going to toss in Jordan Mason here. So this thought is pretty simple. It's kind of similar to the Darnold and Addison thing. Not a lot of people are selecting either of these guys, and hardly anyone will be putting both of these guys on the same team. And the thought here is simple. What if these guys play? What if they're not limited? Well, then you're getting insane values in the 6th round. And if they don't play, then the worst case scenario is we get swapped to really good options. In looking in these drafts, Devon Achane rarely getting drafted, sub 25%. Josh Jacobs rarely getting drafted, sub 20%. Kareem Hunt rarely getting drafted, sub 20%. So the worst case scenario, if Aaron Jones is inactive, if Jordan Mason is inactive, we just get swapped. The best case scenario is both of these guys return, have a full workload, and we not only get a unique piece, but a really good running back and a good offense. So this is going to pain me. We actually aren't going to take Kyron here because we're going to do the double scroll. I think ideally, if you're doing this at home, you are doing this from the back end of the draft board, the 105, 106. So the opportunity cost of passing on Kyron and Barkley isn't huge, but this is a content video here, so I'm willing to hemorrhage a little bit of EV to take AJ Brown instead and free up our 2 running back slots. So I would say of these 2, there's a reason I did Aaron Jones as the gem and not Jordan Mason. I just feel better about Aaron Jones. But there's a reason these plays make you feel comfortable. And it's the same reason they're cheap. ADP of 35.2, 35.1. And it's because people are worried. They're worried about the tweener effect, right? The tweener being they play, but they're limited. They're only getting 10 to 12 touches instead of, 15, 16, 17 plus touches where they can really reach a ceiling. And I get it. Like those outcomes can happen, but I also feel with guys like Jordan Mason, who the team clearly trusts, and obviously Aaron Jones, who the team trusts, when they make the decision to suit these guys up, they end up just giving them the ball. You know, like if everything's going well, if Jordan Mason isn't dealing with pain, you know, if Aaron Jones is good coming off of this, you know, multi-week absence, then like they're going to saddle them up with touches. So I kind of prefer to play it that way. I don't really want to worry about the in-between cases. I want to play it as either they're active and good to go, or they don't go, and then I'll just get a swap. So I want to be sprinkling these guys in at the end of my drafts this week. At least one of them, you know, often if I need a running back and I'm looking to scroll, these will be two of them that I gravitate to. But for this video, I think it's fun to think through how unique both of these guys will be. And I don't think they'll be thin plays if they suit up. I really think they'll have the amount of touches, and we can quibble about the matchups. You know, Detroit, KC, it's not like these are super easy matchups by any means. But I want to trust kind of the volume and the workload and the talent for these guys. I'm going to go ahead. We did Jaden on that other one. Let's go ahead. We're going to have to think about who our quarterback is as well. I think what I'm going to do first is let's mix it up. Let's grab a Travis Kelce share here. We'll grab Travis Kelce, maybe play that opposite Jordan Mason. And then, you know, we could do Hurts with AJ Brown. I think that'd probably be my preference. I think that's what we'll do. We'll do Hurts with AJ Brown. And then we'll figure out what we want to do for our other wide receiver spot. We know that there's this kind of nice pocket around here. Deontay Johnson, I think, would be a good one. Cooper Kupp would make sense on this team as well. Another guy with the Q tag game. We could go triple Q tag game on this team with Cooper Kupp. All right, so we're going to grab Jalen Hurts. I do think Terry McLaurin's a really solid pick, but I don't want to miss out on stacking A.J. Brown with Hurts on this team, because otherwise I don't know if I love my other stack options. I mean, there's always stuff we can manufacture, but I'm thinking it through the lens of I'm already kind of going off the board a bit with these two scrolls. So let's play it a little closer to the vest, a little more optimal with these top 4 picks. Obviously, Jalen Hurts ends up being worth way more to me on a team with AJ Brown than without him. You know, if AJ Brown has the game he did last week, then AJ Brown is likely in good shape as well. Let's just for the sake, I know some people with their OCD, they want to know, did you actually land Dalton Schultz on the Bengals Go Brrr team? Let's just go and check. We did get Dalton Schultz. So here was the final on the Bengals Go Brrr. Jaden Naked, Bijan, Chase Brown, Justin Jefferson, T. Higgins, and Dalton Schultz. We can look behind us too. The drafter behind us has not selected a running back yet. So small chance of a little bit of snipage that could go down here if he has eyes for either Aaron Jones or Jordan Mason. But again, these guys are so buried in the ADP that I think that feels pretty unlikely. So I'll go wide receiver and running back here. Man, Terry McLaurin really falling. I guess that's an interesting note to file away if people are not wanting to take Terry McLaurin without Jaden Daniels, which I think would be a mistake. Obviously, a good chunk of the time you want Jaden Daniels paired with Terry McLaurin, but I think I also want a good chunk of Terry without Daniels as well. I don't think those two have to be, you know, mutually exclusive as far as how you're building out your portfolio with the Commanders. All right, we are now on the clock here. Let's go Jaden Reed. I'm going to go Jaden Reed flop lag. He has been limited at practice this week. I do think he will play, though. Same with Deontay Johnson, although Deontay Johnson missed practice again. So that's even a little more concerning than Reed. Again, we're playing the Q tag game. If these guys don't go, we'll get our swaps. But Jaden Reed was my most drafted wide receiver last week in Battle Royale, which, you know, I think it was close to getting home there. Unfortunately, he left the game a little bit early. And I think he did come back, but he was out for a little bit there. Anyways, going back to Jaden Reed, instead of at an ADP of 9, but an ADP of 23, I don't mind getting cheaper Jaden Reed. And we do select Aaron Jones here, and we will finish this off with our Jordan Mason, our double scroll gem here. So I am excited to hop in a bunch more drafts. You guys might have seen when I registered, these were my first Battle Royales of the week. I personally like waiting until later in the week when I'm able to do my research, prepare for this video, and then I really start hopping in and firing drafts on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So yeah. And I should also mention I do the DFS After Dark show on my live stream channel. That's the Pete Overzet live stream channel. And that's just for YouTube members. If you're best ball value hounds tier or higher, you get access to those Friday or Saturday shows. And I think I've decided this week I'm going to do it solo. I haven't done one of those in a while. I normally have guests, but I'm just going to draft, have a few drinks, answer any of your guys' questions. So if you want to join me for that, you can become a YouTube member on the Pete Overzet channel, and I'll be going live on Saturday night at 9. I'll do some 6-person drafts, some 12-person drafts. And if you have any other questions about Battle Royale strategy, that would be a good place to chop it up. All right, our final pick here, we can push the plane because this drafter in front of us has already selected 2 running backs, which means we will get Jordan Mason, and our final squad will be complete. Jalen Hurts, Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason, A.J. Brown, Jaden Reed, and Travis Kelce, our double scroll lineup. If you guys want my last minute thoughts on the slate each week, I do a DFS cram for YouTube members on the Pete Overzet live stream channel every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. It's an awesome spot to get my up-to-date thoughts. I ended up flag planting, Zay Flowers, Joe Mixon as part of the DFS picks that I wasn't, fully on earlier in the week. So it's a good chance to get my updated thoughts if you like the direction we're headed here with these picks, but want to see how things shake out after inactives, after final projections come out. That is the place to be. We go through the slate on both Underdog and DraftKings, share my favorite plays, react to inactive news. We also do a couple drafts, build some more pick'ems. So the link down below is you just go to that Pete Overzet YouTube channel, you hit join for the YouTube memberships, and you hit that Hand Builders and Optobros tier, and that'll get you access to everything I do over there, including the premium Cram show and the premium DFS After Dark shows on Saturday night. All right, guys, that's it. Good luck in week 7. As always, let me know in the comments, who are your hidden gems in week 7?